Hello everyone, my name is Theodore and today we'll be taking a closer look at Robert Eggers' recent 2019 film, The Lighthouse. I'll be examining this film and explaining why I think it is a super awesome addition to the Gothic Horror genre and why it was just a standout film comparing to what came out last year. Starring Robert Pattinson, who plays Winslow, and William Dafoe playing Thomas, these two truly bring out quite an interesting performance, showcasing their range and depth that they can execute for a role. The story follows these two men tasked with maintaining a lighthouse, but as their time on the island goes on, mysterious and odd forces push these two on the brink of madness. From the very get go of this movie, the setting is pretty dark and incredibly grim, like a gothic horror text brought to life. It shows a ship stumbling upon these super harsh waves, headed towards an extremely isolated piece of land. Winslow and Thomas have a duty to maintain this lighthouse, as the previous dude went kind of crazy and took his own life. So at this point, you should sort of be expecting a rather dark story. So kind of getting into everything, you can already see that these two dudes are not exactly vibing with one another. Thomas treats Winslow pretty bad, making him do a lot of the work with no acknowledgement, except that he yells at him, farts a lot to his annoyance, and just does not respect this dude at all. Actually, I think I should bring up at this moment, although it's been a while since I've seen the film, I think they don't learn about each other until later on, get to know one another. So, as Winslow is doing his painstakingly tiring job, another thing that sort of annoys him is that they're not doing shifts when they're supposed to be doing it, alternating. While Winslow's doing everything, Thomas is just in the lighthouse, going all googly eyes at the light. This is sort of the first big key indication that the light might be a big component to how the film progresses. As the light spins around, Thomas is clearly seen hypnotized by it, and apparently you find out that the previous lighthouse keeper was also seduced by it and thought that it contained some sort of power. You sort of see Thomas going all Gollum from Lord of the Rings on the light, being very protective of it, and straight up refusing Winslow from seeing it himself. And at this point, you see that Winslow, understandably pissed off with all that he went through from the cranky old man, he finally snaps and kills a seagull. Now, I should mention that this here ties back to this early warning from Thomas, stating it is bad luck killing a seabird. And right after, the weather picks up and gets extremely violent, and you kind of know things are about to get a lot worse. So as they were expecting their shift on the island to end, their return boat does not end up showing up, and so they're stuck on the rock together for longer than expected. Even longer. Winslow actually attempts to escape the island himself with a small boat, but unfortunately our dear old friend Thomas comes running in with an axe, destroying the thing, now for sure trapping them. Now being stuck together again, they both start drinking, chat a bit, fight, dance, and actually at one point almost make out with one another. They're pretty cuckoo at this point. But it's also revealed that Winslow's real name is actually Thomas as well, and he has a pretty dark past. As we approach the ending of this film, Winslow discovers that Thomas has had a logbook that had criticisms of his bad performance and was withholding his pay. At this point, Winslow straight up clocks Thomas, killing him and finally shutting the old guy out. After finally killing him, Winslow decides to check out the light for himself, and upon seeing it, it is as if we're left with this very ambiguous reaction from him. We can't tell if he's at awe or he's just completely horrified, because he's reaching out for the light, but he's also screaming. And as soon as everything goes crazy, he falls and collapses down the stairs, probably breaking, I would say, a bunch of bones, and you'd expect him to be dead at that point. And the last moments of the film pans the camera out, seeing Winslow's naked and exposed body, and his organs are exposed, being picked at by seagulls. And let's just say it's a pretty grim visual. This movie was straight up just a refreshing thing to watch, as it took this traditional-esque way of movie making in a modern world. It sets itself apart from other dramas and like psychological thrillers being put out today. Like, they filmed this thing in black and white with a 4:3 ratio, and it really drew from a lot of traditional Gothic horror tropes. Like, I just loved this movie. This entire like claustrophobic atmosphere that they created, the crazy and epic acting that both actors performed, the eerie visuals, and there are just so many more factors that I could list that provoke something super uncomfortable and weird at the same time. Like, I dig it, you know? And I really like those type of films because you don't see that a lot anymore nowadays. Anyways, I only recently realized when planning this assignment out that it has a lot of similarities with this short story by Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart. Both stories have a young and old guy, and both have the younger guy falling victim to madness and paranoia. You can see that both of these protagonists of the film and short, that the story takes its time with great detail to get them to that tipping off point. And once they snap, it's donezo. So I guess relating it back to another text that we've read over the course of Gothic horror was the theory of the uncanny through Sigmund Freud's perspective. And there was a quote saying from him that said, "The uncanny is in reality nothing new or alien, but something which is familiar and old established in the mind, and which has become alienated from it only through the process of repression." So from this quote, I think I can relate it to, let's take example, the seagull in this film. Like, in real life, seagulls, you kind of don't care about it. It's just that random bird that just flies around. But in this movie, there's something about it that's just so daunting and just odd. It's very strange, and that's what starts to make a lot of the viewers get freaked out. Like, and the director does such a good job of making things that we wouldn't usually bat an eye in reality, but in this film, just amplifies the whole strangeness. All in all, I think I've said this a few times already. It's just, this movie's just straight up incredible. I think it definitely was a super standout comparing to the other films that came out the same year. And big credit and big respects to the director, the actors, and everyone behind the scenes, because they really made something great. It was definitely super refreshing to see, and I think it was a great example of a Gothic horror film, and it definitely had a lot of those cool elements and stuff in it that made it super enticing to watch. I really hope they put out stuff like this more, because it's kind of a mental roller coaster, if I could put it like that. And that will conclude today's podcast. I really hope my microphone wasn't too glitchy. I know it has a bad habit of doing that, so I pray to God it didn't turn out bad this time. And to whoever's watching, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. See ya.